Good morning. The newly enacted Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act can be a confusing subject for taxpayers. You might be wondering how it affects your overseas bank accounts. And that's where Thorn Tax Law Group comes in. Managing partner Kevin E. Thorn is here to explain the details of this new law and what you should do to prevent running into problems. Welcome back, Kevin.
Hey, Angela. How are you?
I'm good. Can we start off by telling us exactly what is FATCA?
Well, FACTA is primarily a law that the government put in place to force financial institutions in other countries to disclose the U.S. taxpayers with undisclosed accounts information. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that's basically what it is.
So basically, if the banks don't pretty much throw you under the bus, they can get in trouble.
Exactly, both financially, and it would be very difficult for them to operate within the U.S. if they don't turn over this information. So in the past, you had taxpayers that had to come forward to disclose their accounts that were basically not being disclosed on their tax returns and through other reporting forms. But now what happens is it puts some of the responsibility on the banks to invest in compliance programs that actually, where they have to contact their customers to disclose the information.
Okay, so what is it, if you were to break down what the whole thing is?
Well, if you were to break down the act, what it does is it says to banks in other countries, and we're not just talking about Switzerland, we're talking about many countries, dozens of countries, and the list is growing every day in regards to countries that are actually cooperating. So they basically say to the banks, okay, if you're going to have U.S. taxpayers with accounts, we want to know about them, and you're going to have to disclose them. And if not, you're going to have to withhold money, 30% of U.S. investments, if you don't actually come into compliance in regards to your customers.
Oh, my goodness. So, all right, what if you are the unfortunate person to receive one of these letters from the bank?
Right.
What's your first step?
Well, if you receive a letter from a bank, and it's an offshore bank, so let's be clear about that. It's not U.S. banks, it's banks in other countries. So we're talking about people that travel or work overseas or spend a lot of time overseas where for some reason or another they had to open an offshore account. And when I mean offshore, I'm not talking about the Bahamas or the Bermuda only. We're talking about Switzerland, all European countries, China, etc.
Everywhere.
All over the world, yes. You need to contact an attorney, someone like myself that's experienced in international tax compliance law, that has helped many clients either get into compliance in regards to their FATCA compliance in regards to how to respond to the bank, or whereby they basically contact a lawyer like myself where they can take other steps to get back into compliance.
Now, it sounds really scary. I mean, and I think people are maybe freaked out if they hear about this, and maybe they have a reason to be a little bit freaked out. You've been talking about this for a while. You've been coming on the show and just educating our audience. Have people been responding?
Yes, a lot of people have. I mean, we have hundreds of clients that have had FATCA reporting requirements or IRS voluntary disclosure reporting requirements. And to be clear about this, it is a serious topic. You have a situation where if you don't disclose this account, there are severe financial penalties up to 50% of the account value, or even a criminal investigation. So contacting a lawyer or someone that specializes in international tax compliance can be very beneficial.
So that's your next step. If someone thinks, maybe I'm a candidate for this, for receiving a letter, is that what you'd recommend they do? I guess be proactive. Yeah,
I mean, if you receive a letter from a bank and it's an account overseas, so any bank outside the U.S., if you receive a letter that says, we want you to sign something, or we want you to look at something, and they usually should tell you to contact a lawyer, but you have to use your best judgment. If you receive a letter from a bank overseas and they want you to sign something, the first thing you have to do is contact someone like myself that has experience in this area. Believe me, in the long run, it'll benefit you so that you don't get a letter from the Department of Justice of the IRS. I mean, nobody really likes those letters.
No.
No, it's better to get a letter from a bank and get some advice than to get something from the Department of Justice.
Now, this isn't anything new. This has actually been around for a while. When did the law take effect?
Well, the law came into practice in 2010, but this is just another law the government's been putting forward to kind of tighten the noose on U.S. taxpayers with undisclosed foreign accounts. This is an ongoing thing in regards to how the government is dealing with people that have these accounts overseas.
So why are we hearing so much about this lately, even though it came into effect that early?
Well, if you look at the news, And you see that banks are now sending out letters. Years ago, they weren't sending out letters. But I would have to say in 2012, particularly in 2014, when it came into effect legally, you've been seeing letters sent out to clients from the banks telling them to do certain things or sign certain things. So now is the time to contact a lawyer. I wouldn't wait much longer.
So how much time do people have?
Well, the banks usually set the time period. They'll have a letter and say, I need you to respond to this letter within 30 days, or we're going to close your account. So they kind of give you the timeline. I wouldn't wait until the night before they say they're going to close the account or disclose your information. I would obviously, if you receive a letter via the mail, internet, whatever, or even a phone call sometimes, you need to basically contact someone to find out what your legal rights are.
Get on it quickly.
Exactly.
Kevin, thank you so much.
And thank you.
Always good information. We'll be back with more Let's Talk Live right after this.